Hey everyone, I'm Kristen V. Carter, and this is the Trust Your Magic podcast, where I talk to friends, family, colleagues, and more about how they have trusted their magic and inspired me to trust mine. Today, I am here with a wonderful friend. She is actor. She is an entrepreneur. She is a filmmaker and choreographer, Daisha Graf. Hey. Hi. How you doing today?
I am fantastic. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful.
And see you.
Wonderful.
And wow.
Thank you.
I mean, you're doing it. You're doing it.
I am so happy to have you in this chair because we have known of each other for decades. We're getting a little closer. We're Hofstra grads.
That's right.
And so I've always, it was funny. I remember when I called you to help with some choreography a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, this gives me a reason to get closer to Daisha. Yay.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I love it.
Yes,
that makes me so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So, we both started out as wee babes dancers. So I'm just curious to know how you got into dance, what inspired you to get into dance.
So my older sister, Daisha Graf Mack, is a very well-known Black ballerina. Mm-hmm. Had her whole career, and right now she is the dean and director of the dance department at Juilliard, and we're all very proud of her. So I kind of shadowed her a little bit. I went into dance and found my own path, but we went to the same school. I did take ballet because it was required in a very strict ballet school, but I took ballet so that I could take the other things like tap and jazz. Those were my I love to do those. Yeah.
Okay. And how old were you when you did that?
I started dancing, I think, around 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started dancing around 3. My mom she grew up dancing, and so she put me in dance really, really young.
Yeah.
And so I did tap and I did ballet, and I think she realized I had a thing for memorization, so I would be up in the front. You know how the babies don't remember, but I was very much listen,
I do
5, 6, 7, 8, honey.
Yeah. That's right.
And so it's funny to just hear those younger stories because I feel like once a creative, always a creative.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you started there. So tell me a little bit about just continuing as an artist. I know that you started off as a dancer, but you've done so many other things. So just tell me a little bit of your backstory before we get into Hofstra days.
How can I say this in less than 5 hours? Well, I do want to say that growing up, and even sometimes now, just very, very shy. Mm-hmm. So dance was kind of the way to express myself. I felt really open and free when I was able to just express through my body, because sometimes I hadn't grown into being able to use my words fully yet. It was all very much there, but dance was my way to express myself. And anyone who knows me know I have my Sasha Fierce or my Demita Joe, when I'm dancing or when I'm not, or when I'm performing in any capacity, it's a switch happens. But yeah, I started dancing and I went to school for dance. We went to Hofstra, and I wasn't really sure I wanted to do it professionally, to be honest. I had a moment when I was around 12 or 13 that I quit dancing just because I was at a strict ballet school and I didn't think that it was for me. Things are changing a bit now, but at the time, I didn't have the right body to do ballet, and I didn't want to do point, and I really gravitated towards other genres, but it wasn't really available at the school I was at. And then they introduced a Black teacher, Kevin Malone. He used to be at Philadelphia, and he came to the school, and I was just I'll do whatever he's doing. And he took me under his wing, and he was one of the first teachers ever to be you have something. I see you in the back. You really have something. And he took me under his wing, and I started to go to Dance Institute of Washington. My mom would drive me after school, and I would go train in DC and come back and forth and back and forth. And I was introduced to modern dance and African and all these things that just it just fit me, and I just felt seen, and I felt it just felt right in my body. And then he urged me to try out for summer camps, which are really competitive, really super competitive. And I got into the Debbie Allen School summer camp, and I got into Ailey the same year, and I chose to go to Ailey. I always wonder, how would I have turned out if I went to, if anything would have changed. But I went to New York, and it was just mind blowing for me, and just culturally. And I just instilled myself in everything. And I was going to the drum circles and like, I was just like doing it all. And I hadn't really tapped into hip hop at all at that time. I was a complete bunhead, but yeah, it was a mind blowing experience. And that's when I knew I want to go to school in New York. Yeah.
It's so interesting when you said that you were in the back, because I can't see you in the back at all.
In certain moments, I was just kind of like, just kind of felt like I was just there. And yeah, it wasn't until I had that beautiful, gentle, sometimes forceful nudge to be like, stop hiding. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I started to open up a bit more.
Got you. And then you majored in dance at Hofstra.
I did, not at first. At first I was undecided. And then I was like doing electives, like dance electives. And I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. So I switched it. But yeah, Hofstra was great for me because, I went to the same school from 6th grade to 12th grade, and I had 35 kids in my whole class. And it was just very educationally amazing, but not a real big social life, no like real big games and like all of that. So I wanted a full campus life. I wanted to know what that was like. So I thought Hofstra was great for me because I could have that full experience and then be able to go into the city when I wanted to.
Right.
So I really liked it.
Yeah. No, there's a couple of things that you've said that I want to touch on. One is that you were a dance major. I was a dance minor. And when I was in high school, I went to a boarding high school and they didn't have a dance program. Okay. So I felt like my dance career, if so to speak, really got cut short because I wasn't able to build at my advancement, basically. So I was at one particular level. I didn't feel like I really advanced, but I did help create that program, which I'm still very proud of and very excited about. But when I saw you on campus, I always thought like, oh, you're super flourishing. And it's so interesting to hear you say like, oh, I was shy or I am shy. And, I use dance to express myself. So what did dance give you that maybe, you were learning about yourself in school?
I feel more comfortable now, to be honest, but for a while there, it was a practice. Like I would be like, okay, I'm going to this event. I have to talk to 2 people. And I would give myself like a challenge almost until I got comfortable just being in a room and filling space. Like I think that was like a thing of like taking up space. I have the height and at the time I had the hair and I feel like I actually took up space in a room, but like to my spirit to take up space and just be like comfortable being myself. And also our society doesn't always celebrate introverts. So like a lot of times, big extroverts are celebrated and are, like you're supposed to be the life of the party. You need to be like, la, 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 and go like, in our industry too, like go network and like do the thing and like talk to everybody and like, And I really have tried to be that person and it's not worked out for me. It's not. I've tried, trust me. So, I've just had to also like be like, you know what, this is me and I'm soft spoken and I do better with one-on-ones and that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. And I know how to like, take up space if I need to in the moment, but just life experience and becoming more comfortable with who I am has been a daily practice.
So when you graduated from Hofstra, tell me a little bit about your journey after Hofstra.
Imani was like what trained me to do what I'm doing or to do what I did for a good 15 years. That was my first intro to hip hop. I saw these amazing women like in rehearsals and at games. And I wanted that kind of camaraderie and they would train every night and there was practices and you had to be like, it was very structured. I just wanted to try out. I would approach Tiffany, over and over because the tryouts had already happened. But when I'm kind of locked into something, I'm very like strong-willed. So I would approach her over and over. And I was like, is there anything I can do? I can come to rehearsals. I can like just be an understudy. I don't mind learning. I can just like, so after a while, she's like, oh my God, okay, why don't you audition? And I was like, all right. And so I auditioned and luckily they let me join. But that's where I started training with hip hop. I had not trained. I had not taken any classes before that. So I would train there. And then I started to venture into the city and take classes at BDC and
Broadway Dance Center
in New York. And I was there like again, when I go hard and I lock in with something, I really go hard. So I was taking 3 and 4 classes a day. I got in with, certain choreographers who were teachers like Rhapsody James and Luam. And I was just like Cheryl Murakami. I was just there. I was just there. And then you start to gain relationships, and then they start to ask you to do shows, and then like things started to happen. And I think it was my junior year of college. I was invited to go to one of Beyonce's auditions. This was one of my first auditions, and I'm like, So I went and I did my best. I didn't get it, which is fine. But at that audition, Anthony Burrell, who was working there at the time, he approached me and he was like, "Oh my God." He knew me from back in Maryland. And he was like, you've grown up. And I was like, "I know, right? It's crazy." And he was like, "Do you have a passport?" And I'm like, and I was just like, "I don't know. Yeah, I can get it. I don't know." And then, the next day he was like, we need to fill a spot for Rihanna. Can you come on tour?" And I'm just like, talk about magic. I mean, wow. I could have never thought that was going to happen. So anyway, we had to expedite a passport, and I was put in touch with an agent at that time, so then I could have everything done correctly. And that was my first job.
Wow. At what age?
I was probably 19, I guess.
Wow.
So I had to learn a whole set. Rihanna was opening for the Pussycat Dolls at the time. It was a great experience. It was also eye-opening to be like, "Ooh, I still have a lot of training to do." But that was right out the gate. So I was still in school. I finished up my senior year, and then I just kept working after that.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you learn about yourself so young, traveling at 19?
I honestly was like, I'm so green. I was just I would get yelled at all the time. I was just that was my first real time, doing anything professionally. And there's a different time zone, and I had to show up and do stuff. And there was a huge stage, and I had to remember, hit my mark and do all these things and be professional. And, you'd get notes at the end of the night. You have to remember that stuff. So it was just it was a little overwhelming for the first gig to be such a big thing. But I tend to do well being thrown in the fire and figure it out. So it's kind of good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have had the pleasure of performing one of my all-time favorite dance routines. I don't know if you see me post about it on Instagram all the time.
Yes.
So tell me about how you worked with Beyonce. What was that like?
It was amazing. I remember at the time, I was in a drought, I was in a work drought. And I was like, I'm not getting any jobs right now. I don't know what to do. And I remember just being in the basement and I'm always pondering something. And I just got a call from the agent that was like, "Hey, are you available for the VMAs?" And I was just like, yes. I don't think there was an audition. I think I was asked because there was a bunch of girls that performance. And I missed my cousin's wedding for that, but everybody understood. Sorry, Jeremy. But everyone's like, "Go dance for Beyonce." And I'm like, "Thank you." So I did that, and it was fantastic. And she's so great, and she's everything you think she is. And it was such a beautiful moment for me, and so affirming to be like, I belong here, and all my hard work is not in vain. And oh my God, just standing behind her, you just feel so powerful. And it was great.
Yeah. So you danced for pretty much everybody notable, and then made the decision that you wanted to perform yourself and become an artist. So what was that transition like for you?
So it was interesting because I had done a lot of backup dance work, which was fantastic. And I don't think the world understands how competitive it is. It is competitive to get to a certain level. It's very competitive.
Yeah.
So I was really proud of myself to even have, been able to dance for artists and do the thing and tour and be on different stages. And it was my goal for a long time. And I felt like I was doing it. And then I started to have a couple aches and pains. And my body started to, give out a little bit. I was having some back issues and things. and I could feel the universe starting to like gently whisper, like, it's time to maybe explore other options.
Okay.
So that's even still is kind of a hard pill to swallow. And at the same time, I was just ready to explore creatively and have more creative control. Because when you are with an artist, you don't have much creative control. You learn the step, you stand here, you wear the thing, you're on their time. So there's not much like, say.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, if I have to transition out, let me start taking voice lessons if I want to do Broadway or something else comes up.
Okay.
I started taking vocal lessons in New York with Craig Derry, and that was a really amazing space for me and different artists. I would go every evening and just like do your vocal workout, he would call it. And one day he asked me if I wrote, and I was like, I don't know. Sure, I don't know. Like, I haven't tried. So I wrote a song and I recorded it, and something just lit up in me that I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so fun. And I could use all my talents in one pool. And so I started making music, and I was kind of doing the whole like New York circuit. And I got with management, and that went on for about 5 years. I was signed for 1 year by L.A. Reid. And I got signed on the spot, and that's a whole other story of magic. And I did that. And then after a while, things transitioned again, and then ended up moving here. But
before we go into your transition to LA, what did you learn about yourself as a recording artist? Because I always look at recording artists and go, oh my gosh, the industry is so challenging. And I always have this conversation about industry over artistry. So did you feel like lost it all, or were you trying to find your voice in the industry? I'm just curious, like, what you may have gone through just as an artist.
It was an interesting time for me. I do feel like I really loved creating music, and I feel like we created a niche sound that I was really proud of. And I like toured around New York, and we did amazing shows and like created videos on our own. And like, I felt really powerful creatively. And it was a great like experience for me to just have that control of like, what do I want to say? How do I want it to sound? Like, what do I want my show to look like? How do I want my style to be like? And it was a really cool time. And I could talk about all kinds of things, but it was a really powerful time for me just to like be like an artist and just have creative control. Yeah.
That's awesome, because so many times I hear that folks don't have creative control. So it's awesome to hear that like you put together your sound and your look, and you guys are all around. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So what encouraged you to move here after all of that?
There was a year I was signed, and it lasted like 5 seconds because it was like a bunch of people got signed and then a bunch of people got dropped. And I didn't even really get to start anything. I was like, what happened?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which I still don't even know really what happened. But I was kind of at a low point, and I was like, I think I need to do something else. Like, my spirit was a little bit broken at that time. I was going through it mentally. I had been in New York a long time. Even the city started to feel claustrophobic. Like, I was dealing with anxiety. My hands would tingle. Like, I didn't want to get on the train. Like, I was just dealing with a lot internally. And so the last year I was there, I was like, I think I knew I needed to change. So one amazing thing that happened during my music period was I was introduced to a theatrical agent, April King. And listen, sometimes I can be bold, which I'm proud of myself about that. But yeah, they did set up a meeting with April, and I go into ICM, which is like one of the top agencies. And I'm sitting with April, and I'm just like, I have no training, but I've been on stages my whole life. And I know the camera. I've done music videos, and I was in Step Up and Step Up 2 and like When in Rome and all these, like, I'm so used to the camera, and I'm a storyteller. I was like, I haven't acted, but I've been acting, in a different way.
Right.
And she was like, cool, let's try. And I was like, really? So that's how that happened. And yeah, I just had an acting agent all of a sudden. Wow. So at the same time music was happening, I was going to auditions in New York, super green. just like, what am I doing? Memorizing lines. Like what I memorized it. Is that it? Is that what I'm supposed to do? And so, yeah, I was going around auditioning for about a year. I did do VH1 The Breaks. After about a year, I landed something. And that was really exciting. That was like my first. It was so good. I was so sad it ended, but that was my first professional job, really.
Wow.
In acting. And then, once my music career had shifted at the time, I had decided, you know what, I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to really shift focus because I've always wanted to act. But when you're a dancer, you kind of need to like any athlete, it takes, it takes, eat, sleep, breathe, sweat, dance. So I didn't have the time to really train and I'm all about training. So when I moved to LA, it was a conscious choice to like, I'm acting out here. Okay. And I still, I'm always like gigging with dance, but my focus had shifted. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So you have, worn many, many hats. And so I recently saw your film, Don't Touch My Hair. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're not only acting, but you also wrote that project as well.
Yeah.
So tell me about how that came about and just what inspired it.
So my whole life, I've had this big hair and, I recently cut it for the film. But
really,
I cut it in the film. Yeah,
but I didn't know it was specifically for the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was something I wanted to do for a few years, but it kind of like made sense. But yeah, my hair, as you know, has been like the second character in my life. People knew me, the girl with the big hair, the big curly hair. It was part of my brand. Like with dance, people knew me as a big curly hair. Acting like with modeling and. It was just this thing that kind of like almost preceded me or something. Yeah. Even on social media, that was kind of like how my following grew was through the natural hair community. And like, it was just this thing that was always a thing. And so wherever I go, most days I would get comments about it or questions or can I touch your hair or like just all the time, every day, wow. For most of my life, like it's been this hair. So during the pandemic, we all had a lot of time to think and I was thinking about just like attachments and things I could let go of or like, beauty attachments or all these things. And, I just got more curious about what I would feel like without this thing that always caused so much talking and chit chat and how would I feel without it? Would I still feel beautiful without it? Would I even book jobs without it? Like there was a lot of things, but I was trying to, at the time really just dig deep and, find my purest self. So when I had created this film, there was a point in it that the hair gets ruined in the film. And I had been contemplating if I wanted to do it for real or not. And it was funny because I was watching Hair Tales and it's the Issa Rae episode. And I was watching that. And she was talking about how she cut her hair for, I think it was Awkward Black Girl. She cut her hair. And I was like, okay, well, I got to do it now. I've been thinking about it for years. Thanks, Issa Rae. But that was kind of like the last straw. So I was like, this is my artistic declaration to the universe. So I cut it on camera and it was really intense.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really intense. But then like as soon as I did the first snip, it was like so freeing. It was the most, that moment I just felt light as air. It was really awesome, actually. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how has that transition been for you? Going from long, big, curly hair?
It's fine. Like, I think I like, in my mind, I thought it would be this major shift. And then I cut it and I was like, it's different for sure, but I still feel like myself. I didn't really feel, I don't know what I thought I would feel, but honestly, I was just like, oh wow, I'm still me. Okay.
Because when you mentioned that it was like always this second character of your life, and I was like, oh wow, I would have never even thought that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But I can see what you're saying because, I think anytime I've seen you, I think everybody, myself included, is like, oh my gosh, your hair. I want your hair.
Yeah, hair. You know, the film is about microaggressions with hair in the industry that I'm in. And it's all based on very real events. But I wanted to make a film about that. And I have to shout out Matthew Law, who is the co-creator of this and co-writer and director and everythinger. He's fantastic. And there would not be a film without him. And he came in and I trusted him with my story and my vision. And together we just made magic. And it was one of the most powerful experiences, one of the most diverse crews, mostly women. Like it was just, we wanted to create that environment. And it was just fantastic. It was fantastic. It was one of the best things I've ever done.
That's awesome. Yeah. I also wrote and directed a short film 10 years ago at this point. At the time has just flown. And I feel like that experience, second to none, was just so affirming for me. So what did you gain from, becoming a filmmaker, putting that notch under your belt? And then also, how have you felt about the response to your film?
I was honestly proud we finished because a lot of people have an idea.
Yes.
And to take an idea to actually doing the thing are two different things. So I was just proud that we were able to execute it. And in a world, especially, now with strikes and even before the strikes, in an industry where we're waiting for the audition, waiting for someone to say yes, waiting for the right job, waiting for the pick me kind of thing. It's just very powerful to create your own material and feel like the artist you are. Like we all have stories and I've gained such an amazing community here through my acting schools and those people know people. And we just created such an amazing piece through our community. And I'm like, we need to just keep doing this. I'm so fulfilled creating with my people. I love that so much. So it was just affirming for everybody. And I was like, we need to just keep creating on our own and stop waiting.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So are you working on something right now?
I have ideas percolating. Okay. So it takes me a minute to have an idea percolate in my brain. And then once it's downloaded, it's go time. So
right.
I have a few things in my brain. But the response has been fantastic. And I'm very picky about my work. And so, it's great. And I'm really proud of it. And we're going through the festival circuits and I'm very excited about it. We got into Urban World, which is so cool because I've been to a few in New York when I lived there. So we're doing Urban World and there's CurlyCon, the first ever CurlyCon in LA. That's coming up and they're going to screen the film there, which I'm it's the ultimate audience, the perfect audience.
Yes.
Just a room of natural haired women watching this film. That makes me so happy. So that's going to be fantastic. And we're waiting to hear about a bunch more. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So you've been a creative your whole life. So how do you sustain your spirit? How do you keep going when, like you said, there's a strike or you get a no or rejection? How do you keep going?
To be transparent, it really is not always easy. It is really sometimes day to day. I have the most amazing support system out here. When people tell you when you move to LA, everybody's like, be careful, everybody's fake,
right?
Especially in New York. But I didn't really listen to that. And I came out here and I've met the best people. So I have the most supportive humans around me. I'm an avid journaler. I'm an avid meditator. A movement has always been medicine for me, even if that's just taking a walk,
right?
Taking a dance class for fun. I teach cycling. So I know that I have to get that extra energy out. I'm a person that needs to get out of the house. So I just know these things about myself. I can feel difference in my body if I'm not eating well, things like this.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So you're also an entrepreneur.
Well, during the pandemic, I started a coffee company. It's called Grace and Grit Coffee Company. I am a coffee lover. I was a barista for a little bit. And then through my travels and things, just tasting coffee around the world, I feel like I've refined my palate a bit. And then, during the shutdown, we couldn't go to the stores and the shops. Right. So I started making things at home, like cold brew's my ultimate favorite beverage. So I would make it at home, and then certain friends would ask for some. And then all of a sudden I was making like batches of it. And then all of a sudden I was delivering on Sundays all around LA. Wow. And that went on for like a year. I was just like delivering coffee. But then once the world started to come back and traffic was back and it was just becoming too much, I kind of transitioned to beans. So I found a black roaster. He's in San Gabriel, and I met him, and he helps me roast and ship beans. Okay. And it's been really fun and definitely a learning experience for sure.
Yeah. So what made you decide, like, okay, I love this thing, I want to give it to the world?
I've always had a vision of me owning a shop. Like, I love coffee culture. Like, I can see the shop in my mind. I'm at a coffee shop most days. I just love the idea of community and having a story or a chat over coffee. Like, I meet a lot of my friends, or my friends will meet up, like, let's grab a coffee, or like, let's grab a coffee and walk around. And so I thought, okay, I know this vision will happen at some point, but for now, since I'm sitting here during the pandemic, let me just like start small.
So what do you like to do for fun when you're not creating?
I know, it's such an interesting question, because the things I do for fun are like also the things I do for work, I feel like. And it's, but if I'm not acting or in class or dancing, again, I do love to go to coffee shops and just meet with friends and talk. I also love just art in general. I love to go to museums and fill up my cup just looking at different exhibits. I love street art. So if I'm traveling or even in LA, like I'll just wander around, especially, downtown. There's so much you can find. So coffee's always involved, but I'll go get a coffee and then I'll explore and see if I can find anything new. And I'm not like a huge photographer, but I'll take my iPhone and I'll take pictures of street photography. Yeah. And I love to do that. Go to the movies. Honestly, I feel like I'm usually at friends' houses, just being goofy and on the couch.
Okay. Well, you mentioned so many just chapters of your life. So what do you feel like has really affirmed you and affirmed your faith, just in terms of the leaps that you've made?
I think as I've gotten older, I've affirmed in myself that being a multi-hyphenate is a good thing, and that's a blessing.
Did you think?
Yeah, there was a point where I was like, gosh, I wish I could just focus on one thing and just do that thing. And my whole life is just like, I have a clear path and I'm just like, and that works for some people. And I've had to realize that no, like God has given me so many talents and so many blessings and so many avenues, and that's great. Like that's amazing. So I think, affirming in myself, and honestly, like I've had success in each thing that I've pursued. And so that's also affirming. Like I'm not just out here, and trying and, ending up nowhere. Like it all kind of makes sense. And it all kind of like flows together in some way. And I'm always going to be like that. I feel like I'll be 90, like still doing different things. Like I want to try this, or like, let's go into this venture. Like that's just how my brain works.
Yeah. But is there any area that you love the most, or do you love everything the same?
It's tough. I think it's more like, what am I focused on at the moment? Cause I really love all the things. Since I moved out here, acting has been the focus. So that has been where all my heart's been poured into most. But it doesn't mean I love the other things less. I just kind of have to like prioritize a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, you have supported me with my birthday choreography.
Absolutely.
And just dance classes whenever I want to move. So talk about how you've poured into other people and just what you get out of teaching.
Yes. I love community in general. I love to give back in any way. Both of my parents were huge community leaders. And so I grew up that way. But yeah, arts education is obviously like what I know best.
Yeah.
And so anything with movement, I just feel so connected to give back in that way. Teaching, I feel like, is such a sacred space. Mm-hmm. I feel completely honored whenever I have any kind of student, whether it's a cycling student, or a dance student, or whatever kind of student, like to hold space for somebody. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they feel more empowered when they leave the room is like super, like I'm just so grateful to be in that position. Yeah. And I hope to do it more in a vast way. As I kind of have entered more in the health and wellness space. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just feel like super honored to hold space in that way.
Yeah. Why have you felt the call to go into health and wellness? Just curious.
Yeah, I think as I've dealt with different injuries and things that have forced me to kind of veer in a different direction, I've explored different things. I do have added to the list. I am a certified yoga teacher. Mm-hmm. So I ventured into yoga and breath work and meditation and, cycling. And, I'd love to just venture out and learn more. And mental health is big for me. And yeah, in an industry that's really tough, how do you manage anxiety and all of these things? And I feel like, again, movement is medicine. That's been a major way for me to help my mental and other people, I think, too. So I think it all is just very important to me.
Yeah.
And has been involved in my life in some way. So I'd love to continue to give back in that way.
Yeah. So we've gone through some major transitions recently. We went through COVID, obviously, for years, and now we have a year. I mean, it's like basically 5 months of strikes. So how do you keep your energy uplifted? How do you keep pouring? You're giving so much and all of that. How do you sustain?
Yeah, it's been tough. And I'm not even going to lie. It's been tough. Again, I have to take it day by day. And if there's a day that I'm feeling the type of way, I try to honor that and just like take it easy. But I have to, again, shout out to my community of artists, because even during this time, I've done the most short films that I've done in like years. People are just creating on their own, which is like, again, a good reminder for everybody to be like, we didn't have to wait for anybody. Like, just create our own stuff. And so, yeah, we've still been creating during this time on our own, which has been really fantastic. So that's how I've kept moving, because I feel like I've still been working on different things through this whole time. I've stayed in class, and this industry it's fickle, and it always has been. It probably always will be. So it's that thing of like, what do you do when the camera's not rolling? Like, what do you do when there's a strike? What do you do if there's COVID? Like all these things. And we seem to have found a way to like keep creative, maybe even more so because it's less resources. I feel like you can come up with the best things when there's limited resources because you have to get creative. So it's been a challenge, but also like really exciting.
Okay. Yeah. Now, obviously, this is called Trust Your Magic. So what do you feel your magic is?
I feel like my magic is just me being a deeply sensitive, vulnerable, full body listening human. I've always had the thing where strangers have come up to me and just poured their hearts out to me. People feel safe to talk to me. I feel like in my art, I mean, it's always a work in progress, but I have the ability to be pretty transparent, or people are moved by what I do, which is great. But I just feel like I have the magic of softness and stillness and transparency.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. And when I think about all the stages that obviously we talk a little bit more now, but in all the stages that I've seen of you, I would say that's definitely reflected in everything that you've done.
I appreciate that.
And everything that you continue to do. And also you just have so much success in everything that you do. So I think that there's something to be said for that, in terms of, no, just in terms of your spirit, it is hard.
It is.
The industry is tough. We get a lot, people always have a lot to say, but they're not always the ones doing the work. And so I feel like you've always done the work. And so it's been wonderful to see the different transitions that you've made.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It's artist life is, if I always say, I'm like, listen, I would have changed a long time ago if I could, if I wanted to, but I just love this thing so much. So I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
But there's days where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent, or I'm going to have to say no to that dinner with friends, or, whatever it is, but it's all worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah. So are there any things that you're really excited about for the next couple of months or so?
I'm super focused on my short right now. So it's really exciting, and I'm just like staying present with what's happening with it. Mm-hmm. We're still waiting on a bunch of festivals. There's some other things in the works that I can't speak on yet.
Okay.
So it's all very exciting. And in my life in general, I've been trying not to get too ahead of myself and just be where I am. And so right now I'm just focused on the short and what's happening with the short.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't typically ask this question, but for anyone that's an artist that's listening or watching, do you have any words of just encouragement about perseverance or anything like that? As
teachers have said to me, all of you out there, just stay training. Just keep training. I remember it was Rhapsody James when I started taking hip hop dance classes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to do this so bad. I want this so bad. Like, what do I need to do? Like, how do I get there? And she was like, stay in class. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it. Yeah. Stay in class.
Yeah.
So just keep in the work, like focus on the work, and the other stuff will come. You know what I mean? Whenever it gets loud, it gets really loud. You see other people doing stuff. You want to get there. But just focus on your why. Why do you want to do this? And, stay in the work. Stay in class. Keep learning. And also, don't forget to have your life as well. Because sometimes I'll get so focused on the work that I forget that I need life experience. And I'm like, oh, right. But focus on the work is my number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And is there anything else you want to share?
Not particularly. This has been really nice. I listen to like Jay Shetty and all these podcasts all the time. So it's really cool to sit here and be with my own Jay Shetty today. This is very exciting.
No, thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. So just thank you for being a great person, and thank you for being an example of perseverance. We all have our own, testimonies about keeping going, or sometimes not wanting, sometimes wanting to give up, sometimes wanting to keep going. And so it's just nice to just have a reminder through you. Whenever we have dance classes, I always feel comfortable. You always make me feel like, okay, I can do this wrong or do this right. It's going to be fly no matter what.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So if you can look into the camera and let everybody know where they can find you.
Hey, y'all. You can find me anywhere and everywhere at I am the Daisha, IAMTHE DAISHA, period.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for checking out Trust Your Magic, the podcast. If you liked what you listened to or watched, continue to subscribe, and we will see you next time.